We are in serious trouble.
Oh yeah, this just keeps getting better and better.
It usually doesn't happen overnight. One moment, they're untouchable. Red carpets, flashing cameras, millions of fans hanging on to every word. And then, something slips. A scandal, a mistake, sometimes something much darker. The headlines change, the applause fades, and suddenly the same world that worshipped them starts turning its back. But here's the strange part. Some of them never really disappear. Despite the backlash, the controversies, even public outrage, they're still here, still working, still showing up like nothing ever happened. And if you look closely, their stories are even more shocking than the scandals themselves. Because staying famous after disgrace? That's a whole different game. Let's get into it. Number 15, Chris Brown. Once celebrated as one of R&B's brightest stars, Chris Brown saw his image collapse after his 2009 assault case involving Rihanna. The incident wasn't just a headline, it became a defining moment that reshaped how the world viewed him. Brands distanced themselves, radio stations pulled his music, and for a while it seemed like his career might not recover. But here's where things took a different turn. Instead of fading away, Chris Brown leaned heavily into his music and loyal fan base. Over the years, he continued releasing chart-topping albums, collaborating with major artists, and maintaining a strong streaming presence. Songs like Loyal and No Guidance prove that, despite public criticism, his audience hadn't completely abandoned him. What's interesting is how his career evolved. Less mainstream acceptance, but a deeply committed fan following that kept him relevant. While controversy still surrounds his name, he remains active in the industry, performing, dropping music, and staying visible. It raises a complicated question. Can talent outweigh public perception? In Chris Brown's case, the answer seems to be partially. Number 14. Ellen DeGeneres. For years, Ellen DeGeneres was seen as one of the kindest figures on television. Her show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, built an empire on positivity, laughter, and generosity. But behind the scenes, a very different narrative began to emerge. In 2020, multiple allegations surfaced accusing her show of fostering a toxic workplace environment. Former employees described intimidation, unfair treatment, and a culture that didn't match the cheerful image portrayed on screen. The backlash was immediate and intense. Ellen addressed the issue publicly, apologized, and promised changes, but the damage was already done. Eventually, her long-running show came to an end in 2022, marking the close of an era. However, she didn't disappear entirely. Ellen transitioned into other projects, including stand-up comedy and selective media appearances. While her reputation took a significant hit, she remains active, just in a quieter, more controlled way. Her story highlights how quickly public perception can shift, especially when someone's brand is built entirely on a specific image. Once that image cracks, rebuilding it becomes one of the hardest challenges in entertainment. Number 13, Kanye West. Few artists have experienced as dramatic a fall from grace as Kanye West, also known as Ye. Once hailed as a creative genius who redefined hip-hop and fashion, Kanye's career has been overshadowed in recent years by a series of highly controversial statements and actions. From interrupting Taylor Swift at an award show to making inflammatory remarks that sparked global outrage, Kanye has consistently found himself at the center of controversy. The most severe backlash came after comments that led to major brands cutting ties with him, including Adidas ending their lucrative Yeezy partnership. And yet, despite losing billion-dollar deals and facing widespread criticism, Kanye hasn't stepped away. He continues to release music, hold listening events, and maintain a devoted fan base that sees him as both misunderstood and visionary. What makes his case fascinating is the contradiction. Massive public backlash on one side, unwavering support on the other. Kanye West's story isn't just about controversy. It's about resilience, unpredictability, and the strange reality that in today's world, even scandal can't always silence a global icon. Number 12, Johnny Depp. For decades, Johnny Depp was one of Hollywood's most respected and versatile actors, known for iconic roles in films like Pirates of the Caribbean and Edward Scissorhands. But his reputation took a massive hit during his highly publicized legal battle with ex-wife Amber Heard. What started as allegations of abuse quickly escalated into one of the most talked-about celebrity trials in recent history. The case played out in front of millions, with both sides presenting deeply personal and conflicting narratives. At one point, Depp lost major opportunities, including his role in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, as studios began distancing themselves from the controversy. But then came the twist. His defamation trial victory in 2022 shifted public sentiment dramatically. Support for Depp surged online, and many began to see him as someone who had been wronged. Almost overnight, his career trajectory changed again. Since then, Johnny Depp has made a noticeable return. He has appeared in international film projects, directed films, and even returned to the spotlight at major events like the Cannes Film Festival. While his reputation may never fully return to what it once was, he has undeniably rebuilt a significant portion of his career. His story is less about a complete fall and more about a dramatic reversal, showing how, in the age of public opinion and viral narratives, redemption can come just as quickly as downfall. Number 11. Will Smith. For years, Will Smith was considered one of the most likable and bankable stars in Hollywood. From The Pursuit of Happiness to Men in Black, his career was built on charisma, talent, and a nearly spotless public image. That image changed in a single moment during the Academy Awards in 2022. When comedian Chris Rock made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith walked on stage and slapped him, live, in front of a global audience. The moment was shocking, surreal, and instantly viral. Within minutes, it became one of the most controversial incidents in award show history. The consequences were immediate. Smith issued a public apology, resigned from the Academy, and was banned from attending the Oscars for 10 years. Projects were paused, and his reputation took a significant hit. But unlike many others who disappear after such moments, Will Smith didn't stay silent for long. He returned to social media, addressed the incident more openly, and gradually stepped back into the entertainment industry. Films like Emancipation marked his return, showing that while his image was damaged, his career wasn't over. What makes his story compelling is how quickly everything changed, and how carefully he's trying to rebuild. It's a reminder that even one moment can redefine a legacy, but it doesn't always end it. 10. Kevin Spacey. For years, Kevin Spacey was considered one of the most powerful and respected actors in Hollywood. With award-winning performances in films like American Beauty and his commanding role in the hit series House of Cards, Spacey had built a career that seemed almost untouchable. Then, everything collapsed. In 2017, multiple allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced against him, quickly escalating into a global scandal. The fallout was swift and brutal. Netflix cut ties with him, he was removed from House of Cards, and even completed projects were reshot to erase his presence. Practically overnight, Kevin Spacey went from industry titan to one of Hollywood's most controversial figures. For a while, it seemed like his career was completely over. Public appearances disappeared, major studios distanced themselves, and his name became synonymous with scandal. But unlike many who vanished permanently, Spacey slowly began re-emerging, though not in the way people expected. In recent years, he has taken on smaller independent film roles, particularly in European productions. He's also made occasional public appearances and statements, attempting to rebuild his image. While he remains largely shut out of mainstream Hollywood, he is still technically active in the industry. His case is complicated. Legal outcomes, public opinion, and industry acceptance don't always align, and Kevin Spacey sits right at that intersection. He hasn't returned to his former glory, but he hasn't disappeared either. Instead, he exists in a strange middle ground, active, but never fully accepted again. Number 9. Lindsay Lohan. At one point, Lindsay Lohan was Hollywood's golden girl. With breakout roles in films like Mean Girls and Freaky Friday, she became a defining face of early 2000s pop culture. Her talent, charm, and on-screen presence made her one of the most promising young stars of her generation. But as quickly as she rose, things began to unravel. A series of legal issues, rehab stints, and public controversies dominated headlines throughout the late 2000s. Her personal struggles overshadowed her career, and producers became hesitant to work with her due to reliability concerns. For years, it seemed like Lindsay Lohan's Hollywood story had come to an abrupt and unfortunate end. However, unlike many child stars who fade away completely, Lohan's story took a quieter, more gradual turn. She stepped away from the spotlight for a while, focusing on rebuilding her personal life and shifting her career direction. Instead of chasing blockbuster roles, she explored international projects, business ventures, and even reality television. Then came her comeback. In recent years, Lindsay Lohan has returned to acting with a more controlled and focused approach, including partnerships with streaming platforms and new film projects. Her public image has also softened, with audiences showing a surprising level of support and nostalgia for her earlier career. Her journey isn't just about scandal, it's about recovery and reinvention. While she may never return to the exact level of fame she once had, she has successfully carved out a second chapter. And in an industry known for quick exits and forgotten names, that alone makes her story stand out. Number 8. Mel Gibson. Few careers in Hollywood have experienced a rise and fall quite like Mel Gibson. Once celebrated as both a box office powerhouse and an acclaimed director, thanks to films like Braveheart, Gibson's reputation took a severe hit after a series of deeply controversial incidents. The most damaging moment came in 2006, when he was arrested for DUI and made offensive remarks that sparked global outrage. Later, additional controversies and leaked recordings further fueled criticism, painting a picture that clashed sharply with his public image. Hollywood reacted quickly. Gibson was effectively blacklisted for years, losing major opportunities and industry support. For a long time, it seemed like his career was over. But Mel Gibson didn't disappear. He adapted. Instead of chasing acting roles in big studio films, he shifted focus behind the camera. And that decision changed everything. In 2016, he directed Hacksaw Ridge, a critically acclaimed war drama that earned multiple Academy Award nominations and reintroduced him as a serious filmmaker. Gradually, Gibson also began returning to acting, often in smaller or independent productions. While he's no longer the universally celebrated star he once was, he has carved out a steady presence in the industry again. His story is a reminder that in Hollywood, talent can sometimes open doors that controversy tries to close. Redemption may not restore everything, but it can create a path forward. Number 7. Shia LaBeouf. At one point, Shia LaBeouf was seen as one of Hollywood's most promising young talents, starring in blockbuster franchises like Transformers. His raw energy and unconventional style made him stand out, but that same unpredictability eventually became part of the problem. Over the years, Shia found himself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Legal issues, public outbursts, and erratic behavior turned him into a frequent headline figure. But the most serious controversy came when abuse allegations were brought against him, significantly damaging his reputation and leading to professional setbacks. For many, that seemed like the end of his career. But Shia LaBeouf's story didn't stop there. It shifted. Instead of trying to maintain a traditional Hollywood image, he leaned into smaller, more artistic projects. Films like Honey Boy, which he also wrote, offered a deeply personal look into his life and struggles, earning critical praise. He also stepped away from the spotlight at times, reportedly focusing on personal growth and rehabilitation. When he re-emerged, it wasn't as the blockbuster star people once knew, but as a more grounded, introspective actor taking on selective roles. Today, Shia remains active, though in a much quieter and more controlled way. His career may never return to its original trajectory, but he has managed to stay present in the industry, on his own terms. His journey highlights a different kind of comeback, not one driven by mainstream success, but by transformation and self-reflection. Number 6. Justin Bieber. At one point, Justin Bieber was the definition of global superstardom. Discovered on YouTube and launched into fame as a teenager, he quickly became one of the biggest pop sensations in the world. But as his fame grew, so did the pressure, and eventually, the cracks started to show. In the early 2010s, Bieber's image took a serious hit. Headlines were filled with stories of reckless behavior, run-ins with the law, controversial social media posts, and a series of public incidents that painted him as a troubled young star spiraling out of control. For a while, it seemed like he was becoming more famous for his controversies than his music. Many believed his career wouldn't recover, but then came a shift. Instead of resisting the criticism, Bieber began addressing it. He took breaks from the spotlight, spoke openly about his mental health struggles, and gradually worked on rebuilding both his personal life and public image. Musically, he made a powerful comeback. Albums like Purpose and later releases showed a more mature, refined sound, and audiences responded. Songs topped charts again, and collaborations with major artists brought him back into mainstream dominance. What's notable is how his narrative changed. From being seen as a cautionary tale, he repositioned himself as someone who grew through his mistakes. Today, Justin Bieber remains one of the most influential artists in the industry, continuing to release music and maintain a strong global presence. His story isn't just about controversy, it's about evolution and how self-awareness can reshape a public image. Number 5. Logan Paul. When Logan Paul first rose to fame, he was known for his high-energy, often chaotic content on platforms like YouTube. But in 2017, his career faced a massive backlash after he posted a highly controversial video filmed in Japan's Aokigahara forest. The reaction was immediate and global. Critics accused him of being insensitive and irresponsible, leading to widespread outrage. YouTube temporarily suspended his ad revenue privileges, and many believed his career had reached a breaking point. But instead of disappearing, Logan Paul did something unexpected. He pivoted. He publicly apologized, stepped back for a while, and then returned with a noticeably different approach. Over time, he rebranded himself, shifting from shock value content to more structured and thoughtful media. His podcast, Impulsive, gained traction, showing a more composed and self-aware side of him. Then came another transformation, boxing. Logan stepped into the ring, fighting high-profile matches that brought him into a completely new audience. Later, he even joined WWE, where he proved himself as a surprisingly skilled performer. Today, Logan Paul is not just active, he's thriving in multiple industries. While his past controversy is still remembered, it no longer defines him entirely. His journey shows how reinvention, when done strategically, can completely rewrite a narrative, even after one of the internet's biggest backlashes. Number 4. Cardi B. Before she became a global rap superstar, Cardi B was already known for her unfiltered personality and viral presence. But even after breaking into mainstream music with massive hits, her past came back into the spotlight in a way that sparked serious controversy. In 2019, an old video resurfaced in which Cardi B admitted that, during her past as a stripper, she had drugged and robbed men. The confession triggered immediate backlash online. Critics questioned how such actions were being addressed compared to similar accusations against others in the industry. The conversation quickly escalated into debates about accountability, double standards, and celebrity privilege. For a moment, it seemed like her career might take a serious hit, but Cardi B responded directly. She acknowledged her past, defended her actions within the context of survival, and refused to retreat from the public eye. Instead of disappearing, she leaned further into her music and persona, remaining outspoken, visible, and unapologetically herself. And the results? Her career didn't collapse, it continued to grow. She released chart-topping collaborations, maintained a dominant presence on social media, and remained a major force in pop culture. Songs continued to perform well, and her fan base stayed fiercely loyal. What makes Cardi B's case unique is how she navigated controversy without fundamentally changing who she is. Rather than rebranding completely, she doubled down on authenticity, something her audience clearly values. Her story raises an interesting point. In today's entertainment landscape, transparency, no matter how messy, can sometimes resonate more than perfection. Number 3. Robert Downey Jr. If there's one comeback story that feels almost unbelievable, it's that of Robert Downey Jr. Today, he's known worldwide as the face of Iron Man and a central figure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But his past tells a very different story. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Downey's life was dominated by substance abuse issues and repeated legal troubles. Arrests, rehab stints, and failed opportunities made him one of Hollywood's biggest liabilities. At one point, he was considered almost uninsurable, meaning studios simply couldn't risk casting him. For many actors, that would have been the end. But Downey's turnaround didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, difficult, and deeply personal. He committed to recovery, rebuilt trust within the industry, and slowly began taking on smaller roles to prove his reliability again. Then came the turning point. In 2008, he was cast as Iron Man, a decision that many initially saw as risky. But that role didn't just revive his career, it redefined it. His performance became iconic, launching not only his own resurgence, but also helping build one of the most successful film franchises in history. Since then, Robert Downey Jr. has remained active, respected, and influential in Hollywood. His journey from being written off completely to becoming one of the industry's biggest stars is often cited as one of the greatest comebacks ever. His story isn't just about surviving scandal, it's about rebuilding from the ground up and proving that even the lowest points don't have to define the ending. Number 2. Britney Spears. Few stars have lived their struggles as publicly as Britney Spears. Once crowned the Princess of Pop, her life took a dramatic turn in the late 2000s when personal challenges and constant media scrutiny pushed her into a very visible breakdown. The situation led to a long-running conservatorship that controlled major aspects of her life and career for over a decade. For years, fans questioned whether she truly had control over her own choices. That question eventually sparked the viral #FreeBritney movement, turning her personal situation into a global conversation about autonomy and mental health. In 2021, the conservatorship finally ended, marking a major turning point. Since then, Britney has remained active in her own way, sharing her voice on social media, collaborating on music, and reclaiming her narrative. Her story isn't just about controversy, it's about control, resilience, and finally being heard after years of silence. Number 1. Mike Tyson. At one time, Mike Tyson was the most feared man in boxing, a heavyweight champion whose dominance inside the ring was unmatched. But outside the ring, his life spiraled into controversy, including legal issues and a prison sentence that nearly destroyed his career and reputation. For many, that would have been the end of the story. But Tyson's journey took an unexpected turn. After years of struggle, he began rebuilding his life, step by step. Instead of trying to reclaim his old image, he embraced a new one. more reflective, honest, and surprisingly self-aware. Appearances in films, interviews, and even his podcast introduced a completely different side of him to the world. Today, he remains active, not just as a sports icon, but as a cultural figure who openly discusses his past and growth. His transformation is one of the most striking examples of redemption. And that's the list. But here's the real question. Do scandals really end careers anymore? Or do they just change the way fame works? If you found this surprising, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the stories behind fame are always deeper than they seem.